All right, good afternoon, BGD family. We're back again for another live interview for the third annual Virtual Career Fair. For those who are just hopping on, I'm Jamie Taylor, the CEO and founder of the Black Golf Directory, and I'm excited because we're in week 2 of the BGD Virtual Career Fair, and interview 2 for this week because I did one earlier. This interview, though, is with the PGA Tour. As probably most of you are following along have heard of the PGA before, but the PGA Tour specifically are the people that you see on TV week in and week out. So that's who we're interviewing today. And I have one, potentially two guests joining me from that tour. We're specifically going to have a conversation about opportunities, whether they're internships, employment opportunities, things you should know if you want to ever consider a job in the sports industry and specifically at the PGA Tour. So please hop in, stay in. Please feel free to ask any questions. And if at any point you have to leave this interview, you can sign up on the blackgolfdirectory.com website to get the full recording, as well as interview reminders for future interviews and updates for job postings and internships that are coming up for the 11 companies that are joining us. So thank you again for joining, and I'm going to bring in Jennifer Fossig, who's going to be representing the PGA Tour.
Well, thank you. First, Jamie, thank you so much for including us in this virtual career fair. We're super excited to be a part of it. As you said, my name is Jennifer Fossig. I'm the Senior Director of Talent and Culture here at the PGA Tour. And basically what that means is I get the pleasure of being able to interview people and hire them and help grow and support their careers here at the tour.
Right. So Jennifer, the goal of this event is to help people understand what opportunities there are at the PGA Tour in regards to internships, job employment. So can you just give us an overview without getting into the nitty gritty of how to apply and so forth, what people can look to find working at the PGA Tour?
Sure. Yeah, well, we have all kinds of super exciting opportunities, and maybe not everything that you would imagine coming in and working for a professional sports organization. Starting with internships, you asked about that. We do have a very formal internship program in the summer, every summer. We just completed our 30th year, so going into 2023 will be our 31st. It is, and it's a 12-week formal internship program. We also have a couple of other programs through internship opportunities with our championship management events. They often hire interns to work ahead of a tournament and get the opportunity to experience both tournament operations or tournament services. And then finally, talking about career opportunities with the tour, we have a wide range, as I mentioned, of opportunities, and it's everything from accounting and human resources in our talent and culture department, all the way to people that work with and support all of our great tournaments across the country and across the world, as well as our media team. We have a very large media team. We're always looking for content associates, content producers, people from a social media, as well as regular production and our live production team. And then even flipping very quickly to another example, we are having a lot of increase in development in our technology. So that is opening a whole span of careers from developers to project managers to product managers. So a little bit of anything that you would want to do, you probably could find that career opportunity here at the tour.
Thanks for sharing. And I think you all have heard this common theme that oftentimes people assume you have to be a golfer to work in the golf industry, but I'm sure Jennifer will agree that is not necessary, especially with all the jobs she just mentioned. You really just need the skills for that specific job. But can you give us an idea as to, one, where you're located or where locations are and kind of what the working environment is post-COVID at the tour?
So most of our positions are located here in Northeast Florida, and specifically in Ponte Vedra Beach at our global home, or our content teams are located in St. Augustine, Florida at our studios. And we do have some that are sprinkled throughout the country, but for the most part, the majority of us are here. The culture, because we do are fortunate with a beautiful new office building, we do have a hybrid schedule of sorts for those people that are able to work a hybrid of work from home as well as working in person. There's a lot of benefits that we see in that schedule, including just we have a very collaborative team environment, working with a lot of different people. Our space is very collaborative. We are able to work in and around throughout this building. We and then we do have some remote staff that are 100% field staff, and some of those positions end up traveling probably about 180 days throughout the year. So there's a lot of entry-level opportunities if you really want to be involved in golf operations that can get you out and helping support those efforts.
Can you speak a little bit more in depth about those out in the field opportunities? Because I can tell you, having worked at the LPGA Tour and being a golf professional, I didn't have a clue about what that entailed. Besides the fact that they're on the road all the time, but just kind of what the experience is like, what people may gain or learn from that experience working out in the field.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So we have a logistics arm of our company, Tournament Event Logistics, and that's where a lot of probably our more entry level field positions come into play. And they are the team. Like I said, they travel probably about 180 days a year, and they're setting up everything from the scoreboards to the cameras to the radar equipment, and just doing everything to prepare that tournament for competition. From a technology standpoint, they also during the week, they could be doing everything from helping fix mechanical challenges with a generator to training volunteers on how to use our ShotLink equipment and a wide variety of work. Aside from those individuals, we have other staff that work specifically with the tournament operations. And a lot of those, we've got more senior positions too that help out, say, competitions that are out on the field, helping set up the competition side of it, and then just supporting all things as it relates to specifically the players and the actual competition day or days.
There you have it. That was a great summary overall. And it's really a catch all, but it's actually pretty fun. I got a chance to experiment with that a little bit. Like I said, when I worked in my former company, LPGA, and even if you don't think that would interest you, it's definitely something worth trying out if you're in a position of starting out in your career. I think it's a good way to kind of learn the business. And then once you obviously decide, hey, maybe I don't want to travel as much, I'm sure sometimes there's opportunities to transition into the office. And so at least you'll have that perspective. I think it's helpful when you're joining an organization like the PGA Tour. So can you give us more in depth about the internship as far as, when are those happening? What's the cost? How long do they last? And also, how old do you need to be or where you need to be as far as college to apply for the internship opportunities?
Okay, great. I mentioned two different opportunities, so I'll talk about one, and specifically our summer internship program, which is our more formal program. We have an application process that starts. It will be up sometime in the end of October, and we usually start the selection process in January. So we give college students a couple of months to apply. The process is a mix of filling out an application as well as we have different prompts that we try to learn more about the candidate. We usually select the group probably sometime in the March, April timeframe, and the internship program starts usually in the beginning of June, and it lasts for 8 weeks. And it is here located in Ponte Vedra. You would be generally we look at rising juniors and seniors, as well as grad students that participate in the program. It's very competitive. We have about 15 to 16 spots that we open up each year, and each person would be working really closely with a business department. The other internship program I mentioned earlier, championship management, that's really working and plugging in with the different events throughout our championship management calendar. And those internship opportunities could be everything from 1 to 2 months out in helping prepare for the event, or even we look for interns or project assist, we call them project assistants, that help maybe 1 or 2 weeks into the tournament and are there on site at the tournament. Those opportunities, of course, can fluctuate based on the calendar of the events, and those are usually managed at the tournament offices. And so it can fluctuate a little bit more, which I just said.
No, no worries. So, just to be clear, I think you said junior year of college is typically the internship age that you look to bring in. I think that's pretty common for most companies that I've talked to so far. And I'm guessing the part of that is just because the idea is that you do want to hire these people potentially to be part of your team full time. So you want to be at a point in their college stage of college where they can actually work soon and not necessarily just be in purely exploratory. So that's a pretty cool and pretty good reason to have juniors and seniors as applicants. Now, just to be clear, although you do accept juniors and seniors or look for that age group, could someone older, a little bit older, let me just say, like myself, apply for an internship with you all?
So we do have some individuals with masters that are in their master's degree. Most of our internship program, though, you do need to be in school still, but we do have other opportunities for somebody that might have finished their college education and ready to join a professional position. And there's everything I mentioned earlier. There's a handful of opportunities to join our organization and really learn about who we are and what we do, and move your career forward.
Great. So let's talk about just what it's like to work at the PGA Tour. First, could you tell everybody how long you've been there at the tour, just to give them a sense of your experience, and then what's the culture like? What is the vibe, as film people say, at the tour, and if someone wants to work there, what should they generally expect?
Okay, great. Yes, I've been here almost 4 years. There'll be 4 years at the end of this year. And I think I can get kind of cheesy sometimes talking about the vibe. I liken it a lot to playing golf. And I use it very specifically for a couple of reasons. One, we are a very fast paced, dynamic environment. I think somebody who's very career oriented and really it's just an opportunity you always can do more, experience more, take on more projects, either within your own team or be involved in some of our employee resource groups or U groups as a way to really impact culture. So I use that piece of golf as an example because, as you know, it's an individual sport. I love the idea that if somebody gets up and hits on the tee box and shanks the ball, how many of us try to fix that swing immediately, trying to make sure that we go on to the next hole and hit that better line. But the nuance of the tour, and I think so much of the golf industry, is we are just very team oriented, very collaborative. We really pride our ability to work with others. And so I love the example that while you're fixing your swing, your playing partner just shot this sweet drive down the fairway. And everybody is always like immediately, congratulations, great ball. You might be screaming, go, 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 right? And it's just like you're just as excited for that person and seeing their success and how they hit the ball. And so I just love that analogy when I think about what it's like to work for the tour.
Gotcha. So, if someone is interested in applying for any of these positions, what are some things that you look for that make them stand out amongst others? Just like maybe 2 or 3 things that come to mind, either in their resume or their interview process, that makes you feel like they're worth taking to round 2.
Yeah, especially thinking from an early career perspective. I think one is just really interested in your career or knowing where you want to be or what you want to do. Maybe more of that curiosity nature or having done some research in terms of, if you're a marketing person, what that means, or social media. And then, obviously I just talked about collaboration and teamwork. So somebody that truly has that desire to work in that kind of fast paced, but team oriented environment. And then finally, I think just paying attention to every aspect of the interview process is so important. Everything from doing a little bit of research about us, the PGA Tour, maybe about the people that are interviewing with you, to thank you notes, which I feel is a lost art. you don't see too many of them after an interview, and they definitely get noticed. So just making sure that you're checking all the boxes and making the best use of every opportunity you have to engage with members of our team.
Great. And what about on the flip side? What are some things that you could say people have put? You don't have to name any specific people, but obviously things that you've seen that you're just like, this is why you are not going to come work here, or just either like I said in the resume and or in the interview process?
So I think you mentioned resumes. I think just errors not being detailed enough. I recently had a resume of somebody. Page 1 looked really great. Page 2, you could tell it was a form because instead of their name, it just said name. And they forgot to change it and update it with their actual name or delete that space. Something else that I think is probably what you would not expect me to say is people that come in and it's like all about golf. I want to work for the PGA Tour because I love golf and I have a +1 handicap or whatever else they may say. And really, we want to talk to you about what you want to do and who you want to be from a career perspective. And then the last note that I have, which is probably interesting too, is you don't always get that first opportunity when you interview, and you might be turned down for a job. And I can't tell you how many times I have people that burn that bridge by how they handle that turn down, and how many times people have taken advantage of the relationships that they've met during the interview process and ultimately landed probably even a better fit by continuing to interview and explore opportunities with the PGA Tour. So just how you handle that situation of that maybe that initial no could make or break your ability to potentially join our team.
That makes a lot of sense. And it's very common to some things I've heard earlier in regards to that resume. People, I think, they just want to get a resume in as quickly as possible because they want to make sure they get it in by the deadline and don't think about, having somebody else proofread what they're sending in, especially if you're not great at writing. I mean, so many people say, I'm not a good writer, as if that's like a legitimate reason for them not to turn in a good resume. At least that's something I've heard. So all that being said, if you are not a good writer and you know that about yourself, recommend you get a proofreader for sure. So with that, I didn't ask you this, but you sound like you know what you're talking about golf. Are you a golfer? And if someone was not a golfer and wanted to apply to work at the PGA Tour, I guess the question would be, how does the environment kind of embrace a person in that regard?
Yeah, so I actually knew nothing about golf when I started working for the golf industry, which was probably about almost 12 years ago. And I quickly was able to embrace it. It's something, those of you guys that love golf, it quickly gets into your blood, and you develop a love and appreciation for it. So in my mind, I love hiring people based on skill set and expertise in the given field. We have people that work here that have never been on a golf course, and we have people that work here that, of course, have a passion and have always loved the game and therefore find a reason to work for the PGA Tour. I do think it's important, and we do have opportunities within our own organization to expose people to the game. So, there's nothing probably more stressful than being a new golfer and trying to get out there and play 9 holes with colleagues that were golfers in college. and just being able to give everybody the opportunity to really learn and understand this great game.
Great. And for those who just joined in, we're with Jennifer from the PGA Tour. She's giving you some really good information on how to be a viable candidate to apply for internship and employment opportunities with the PGA Tour. So you mentioned about if you're not a golfer and you come work for a golf company, you get kind of sucked, pulled in, sucked in, if you will, into golf. Can you talk about some of the perks that you've experienced since working at the PGA Tour or for the golf industry as a non-golfer?
Yeah. Okay. So just from a benefit perspective, some of our perks include, we're really fortunate to get a TPC Sawgrass membership, which gives us playing privileges at the Dyes Valley course, but even and the iconic stadium course. So that's pretty exciting for us. We also do get to take advantage of tournament badges for both ourselves and our family to go and just experience a tournament and just walk around and watch it. There's nothing quite like watching somebody that's a professional play the sport, and it's just amazing to see. And then even like, for instance, this week we have the Friends in Purich event here locally in the Jacksonville market. So employees have been encouraged multiple times to come in and see the tournament and be on site. And so there's different perks from that perspective.
Got it. One perk I used to provide, and maybe you've had this similar experience. So, as being an LPGA professional, I offered lessons to some of the staff that were not golfers because although you can be a non golfer and work at these companies, you are oftentimes surrounded by people who play golf at a pretty proficient level. So that way they could actually learn the game because obviously having a benefit at a golf course isn't helpful if you don't know how to hit the ball. So, would you say that there are some willing pros available to help as needed that work with you?
Absolutely. And actually, talking a little bit about our culture, we have our employee resource groups or our U groups. We have a couple that have put together some really great golf leagues that, like I mentioned earlier, are non-competitive. So really giving us an opportunity to get out there and learn. We have different experiences with our executive teams where they come out and we're actually getting ready to have a chip drive putt contest of sorts internally with some of our executives. So not only does it get you to get out there and experience the game in not always a super competitive environment, but also being able to network with other colleagues, other departments, and leaders within the organization. And I can't believe I didn't mention it, but part of our new global home includes we have a swing suite, which includes a golf simulator. So that can be very fun. That you can take a 5-minute break or extend your lunch a couple minutes and go hit a couple balls and try your hand virtually.
That's pretty cool. I got to tell some other companies I got to get on it. That's a pretty cool perk that I have yet to hear anyone else say they provide. So if you are a golf nut or want to try golf, you had a golf simulator. And for those who don't know what a golf simulator is, although I'm sure most of our audience does, it's an indoor hitting screen that you can hit on with real golf balls, and you could be playing a golf course per se or just hitting at a driving range, but it gives you feedback as if you were hitting in real life out on the golf course. And so it's a little less intimidating because you're literally hitting maybe, I don't know, 10 feet, 15 feet away from you, as opposed to hitting and walking for those who don't feel like walking and getting sweaty during their lunch break. So with that, I have a few more questions, and audience, feel free to chime in with any questions at any time. I just want to first make sure that people hear again, how can they find out about these opportunities and apply for them?
All of our jobs get posted on PGAtour.com, our career page, or specifically Teamworks. And you can go on and see any of the job openings that we have. Our internship opportunities will also be posted there, our formal program. Again, that won't be until closer to the end of October, end of this month or early next month. And then any interest in an internship opportunity that I mentioned with some of our championship management events, you would reach out to those offices specifically regarding those opportunities.
Right. So I do have a few quick fire questions, and don't feel nervous. It's just one of those things I want to see. Want people to learn a little bit about you all outside of employment side of things. So you just answer the first thing that comes to mind, and that you feel is your true feeling. So the first question is, I'm assuming you've been to some PGA Tour events. What has been your favorite one so far?
So one of the most oh gosh, now see, you told me not to be nervous. And I can't even talk. Okay. I had an opportunity to go to the President's Cup when it was in New York in 2001. And that was pretty fun to go and see. I never would have thought I would get to go to something of that status. And so that was a really cool experience personally.
And where was that located?
New York.
Yeah, okay.
New York City at Liberty National.
Okay. The next question is, this was going to be a toughie, so just pick your favorite. You have the Shriners Children's Open coming up in Las Vegas, Nevada, this week, October 6th, and it's at the TPC Summerlin. And so, is there a player that you hope will win or that you think might win?
Ooh, that is a good one. I've been really I've been really enjoying watching Max Homa lately.
Okay.
So maybe I'll throw his name in, or of course, fan favorite Rory. How can we not all want to see Rory play and do well?
Right. Yeah, Rory's definitely a popular one, and definitely viable candidate to win because he's definitely got a solid game for sure. So the last one is if you were to play. So every tour event, I think every tour, whether it's the PGA Tour, mini tours, they have what they call the pro-ams, and those typically take place before the tour event. So a lot of the sponsors who are supporting that event, they get to play in a foursome or fivesome, technically sometimes, with a tour player as part of the package of paying for the sponsorship. And so that happens at the course where the event is being taken place. And it's just a really good perk to be a sponsor. And it costs a lot of money. I just put that out there. But if you were to play in a pro-am, or if you've ever played in a pro-am, who would be your preferred PGA Tour player to be on your team?
Oh gosh, that's a good one too. I have non-tour players that I would quickly pick, but a tour player, my mind immediately. I always often talked about Ricky. Ricky Fowler would be fun. Of course, Rory.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's such an easy answer. If I use twice, that's not fair.
No, Ricky Fowler's actually a good pick too. Like I said, I mean, you want to play to win, and though I haven't played in too many of them, yeah, if you want to play somebody you see on TV all the time and get to know, I mean, to play 18 holes with a professional that you see on TV every week is a pretty cool experience. So that's it. You're done. You're off the hook. You don't have to worry about coming up with some difficult golf questions. I have one question from the audience about international students in regards to either employment or internships. Do you have room for that, or how does that work?
Yeah, so we definitely have opportunities for international students in our internship program, and we do work with them regarding their student visas. And employment can be a little bit more tricky, but we definitely would be willing to explore and have those conversations.
All right. Well, Jennifer, you've done an awesome job today, and I thank you for all the information. I think it's very helpful, and I'm hoping people will definitely consider applying for your internships as well as employment opportunities at the PGA Tour. Can you remind the audience, one, where you're located, headquarters, two, how they can apply and find these opportunities?
Absolutely. We are located in Northeast Florida, specifically Ponte Vedra Beach, and you can apply on Teamworks Online or pgatour.com.